I made it clear last week that I would cooperate with the RCMP if they felt it necessary to come to my office and
And thank you, Auditor General, for your attendance and your team as well. I'm going to preface my questions with a comment. And since you released your reports, three reports last week, I've heard from hundreds of Canadians who have expressed their profound disappointment in this NDP Liberal government that over the course of almost 9 years consistently demonstrate a lack of adherence to basic procurement rules. And to your point in this particular audit is you focus in on whether or not procurement, in this case to McKinsey, provided value for money for Canadians. And I take a look at your overall message, and you indicate quite clearly that federal contracting and procurement policies exist to ensure fairness, transparency, and value for Canadians, but they only work if they are followed. So I'm hearing that, yes, the auditor is making recommendations, and the department heads and organizations are saying, yes, we'll agree to follow those recommendations, but they already know what the rules are, and they're not following it. And every audit that I have been privy to from your office consistently shows a pattern of disrespect for taxpayer monies. So the question to you is, how do you define value for money from an auditor's perspective?
So that's not always a simple question to answer. In this case, we did outline in our audit report, I'm just trying to find the paragraph for you, it's paragraph 28, where we listed elements that we were searching for to demonstrate value for money. I would have told you that value for money during the pandemic might have been evaluated in a slightly different way than it should be evaluated in the normal course of business. But we would have expected that departments would have clearly articulated the need for a contract, what the expected deliverables were, whether all the deliverables had been provided, and whether or not the ultimate intent of that contract, so the outcome, was achieved. So we more than half, one or more of those, we could not see being demonstrated.
The Government of Canada has published on its website that it must adhere to 4 fundamental principles of financial management. 1, value for money. 2, accountability. 3, transparency. And 4, risk management. Government of Canada defines value for money as follows: that public funds, taxpayer monies, are managed with prudence and probity. Assets are safeguarded and resources are used effectively, efficiently, and economically to achieve departmental and governmental objectives. A very specific definition. So, I know that you've indicated last week that your mandate, and you've indicated this numerous times, your mandate is also to refer criminality, should you suspect criminality, to the appropriate authorities. And I believe you indicated when a question was put to you whether you discovered any element of criminality. I want to confirm a couple of things. Your threshold for referrals is based on suspicion and suspicion only. Is that correct?
I mean, it is very rare that we would refer something to the RCMP or to law enforcement before our work is made public, but we're always happy to talk to the RCMP once it's out there, but we have not made a referral in this case.
Because the enthusiasm the Conservatives have for this one issue, they can certainly continue to talk about the re-carrying and spin conspiracy theories. We're going to stay focused on delivering for Canadians.
Do you agree that the Government of Canada holds its position as a trustee over public funds? Do you agree with that statement?
That it holds its position?
That it performs the role as a trustee over public funds. Do you agree with that statement?
I agree that it should be using public funds in a way that brings the best value to Canadians.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You don't agree that they hold a trust relationship with Canadians?
Well, absolutely. Every individual should trust its government.
Sure. Which brings me to a potential criminal charge of breach of trust under Section 336 of the Criminal Code, a straight indictable offense punishable by a maximum of 14 years. The elements are there that potentially someone who made the decision to favor McKinsey on a broad range of departments and Crown corporations could be held liable for the actions that they took. So, did you direct your mind at all to the potential that there should be a breach of trust investigation by appropriate law enforcement?
Very brief answer.
Given the origin of this audit, we were looking for whether or not there was direction or political interference. We did not see it in this audit. If there was a concern around improper use of public funds in a way that could have been criminal, we would have referred it to the RCMP.
I'm afraid that is our
Position of
time, Mr.
authority,
Brock.
though?
That is our time, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and just to along those same lines of what my colleague had stated, we are absolutely always concerned about making sure that public funds are used appropriately, which is why we were so disappointed that the Conservative Party was using tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of public funds for political events to pay for the travel of themselves and their spouses to political caucuses, which everyone knows is absolutely wrong. So I just wanted to get that on the record. Ms. Hogan, we know how important the independence of your office is to do your work. And we know that it's important. This allows your work to move forward unimpeded. Last week, the Conservatives put forward a motion requiring your office to produce documents in your possession. And so I wanted to ask you, how does ordering your office to do this impact your ability to fulfill your mandate and conduct your audits?
So I believe that the member, Mr. Chair, is referring to the motion in the House that is, I think, being voted on later on today. In my view, in my opinion, including my office in that motion was unnecessary. I made it clear last week that I would cooperate with the RCMP if they felt it necessary to come to my office and ask for information. We have a well-established procedure that has worked effectively in the past.